Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm glad you're here. Today, we'll be exploring a topic that many of us have experienced at some point in our lives: unrequited love. The title of our presentation is Unrequited Love: Navigating the Pain of Unreturned Affection. Throughout this session, we'll look at what unrequited love really is, how it affects us emotionally, and some ways to cope with these challenging feelings. So, let's dive in and understand this universal, yet often painful aspect of human relationships. According to social psychologist Roy Baumeister, 98% of people will experience unrequited love at some point in their lives. It's actually more common than many might think, and rather than being a rare event, it's almost an inevitable part of our emotional journey as human beings. So, the real question is, how do we cope with it? How do we move forward without letting ourselves become overwhelmed by longing, fantasies, or heartbreak? What I want to share with you today are 6 strategies, backed by experts, that can help us navigate this difficult experience. These are practical approaches that can make a real difference as we work through unrequited love and find a way to heal and move on. So, let's explore these strategies and see how they can help us regain control and emotional balance. The first and most essential step in this process is acceptance. Once you've openly expressed your feelings and learned that the other person does not feel the same, the healthiest response is to respect their stance. This requires a conscious decision. It's about stopping the flirting, stopping the persuading, and most importantly, stopping the hope that they might change their mind. Think of it like ripping off a bandage. Yes, it can be painful in the moment, but it's a necessary step toward healing. Psychologically, acceptance helps prevent your mind from clinging to false hope, which is often one of the strongest sources of prolonged suffering in unrequited love. Remember, closing the door on possibility is about giving yourself permission to move forward and start healing. All right, let's talk about the importance of stopping daydreaming and redirecting your thoughts. Unrequited love often thrives on fantasy more than reality. You might catch yourself imagining scenarios where things turn out differently. Maybe they confess their hidden love, or circumstances suddenly change in your favor. While these daydreams can feel comforting in the moment, they actually reinforce emotional attachment to someone who might not feel the same. So, what's the solution? Every time you notice yourself drifting into these fantasies, gently but firmly shift your focus to something else. It could be a personal goal, a creative passion, or a future plan you're excited about. This practice is rooted in cognitive behavioral psychology because it helps weaken the neural pathways that fuel longing and strengthens those associated with self-growth and moving forward. By actively redirecting your thoughts, you're taking control of your emotional state, which is a crucial step in healing and building a healthier relationship with yourself. Remember, it's about fostering resilience and focusing on your growth rather than getting caught in the cycle of longing. So, on this slide, I want to talk about the importance of allowing yourself to mourn the idea. Even if there was never an actual relationship, what you're really grieving is the idea of what could have been. And that's a very real kind of grief. It's not just about losing a person, it's about losing the hope or the fantasy of what might have been possible. Now, I know sometimes we try to push down these feelings or pretend they don't exist, but suppressing sadness only makes it last longer. Instead, it's healthier to give yourself permission to mourn. That might mean crying if you need to, sharing your feelings with someone you trust, or even journaling what you're feeling. Mourning in this way honors your emotional truth. It creates what we call psychological closure, helping you process your feelings instead of letting them get stuck inside. When you process grief rather than deny it, feelings can pass through you naturally. This is essential because it allows you to move forward with a clearer mind and a lighter heart. So remember, mourning is a vital part of healing. It's about respecting your emotions and giving them space. That's how you truly begin to heal and find peace after loss. All right, let's talk about a really effective way to move on from unrequited love: distracting yourself with passion projects and new skills. This is all about redirecting your emotional energy back into yourself. Think about picking up an old hobby you enjoyed, or maybe trying something completely new that excites you. It could also mean diving into a creative or professional project you've been meaning to start, but haven't yet. Psychologists call this behavioral activation, which basically means engaging in activities that are rewarding and meaningful. The idea is, by doing this, you counteract those negative feelings like rumination and sadness. The more you make progress in these personal pursuits, the more your self-esteem naturally grows. And here's the important part. This process not only helps you move forward, but also strengthens your sense of identity outside of the unreturned affection. So, in essence, by investing time and effort into yourself, you're rebuilding your confidence and rediscovering who you are beyond that unreciprocated love. When dealing with unrequited love, it's common to idealize the other person. We tend to put them on a pedestal, focusing on their virtues and overlooking their flaws. But this idealization is a distortion. It creates an illusion that isn't based on reality. It keeps us attached to an image rather than the actual person. So I encourage you to ask yourself, what are their imperfections? What traits or values might actually clash with yours? By humanizing them, seeing them as real, imperfect individuals, you start to weaken that myth of perfection. This shift helps you recognize that they're not the perfect partner you might have imagined, which can be a really important step toward healing and moving forward. Sometimes, the hardest part of unrequited love is accepting that closure may never come from the other person. They might never give you the explanation or validation you're seeking, no matter how much you hope or ask for it. Waiting around for that closure can actually keep you stuck and prolong the pain indefinitely. But here's the important part. Closure doesn't have to come from them. It can come from within you. With time, self-reflection, and a conscious effort to let go, you have the power to close that chapter yourself. It's about stopping the wait for words that, realistically, they may never say. And recognizing that moving forward is an act of self-respect. It's about honoring yourself enough to find peace and acceptance, even when the external answers aren't there. This process is vital to healing and to reclaiming your happiness. Final thoughts. Unrequited love is something that many of us experience at some point, and it's truly a deeply human experience. It hurts because it taps into our fundamental needs, our need for connection, recognition, and belonging. When those needs aren't met, it can feel like a personal rejection, and that pain can be intense. But here's an important perspective. Within that pain lies a real opportunity. An opportunity to build resilience, to love ourselves more deeply, and to redirect our longing into growth. Instead of seeing heartbreak as just a loss, we can see it as a chance to learn more about ourselves and to develop inner strength. And I want to emphasize that while we can't control who loves us back, there are things we can control. We can choose how we respond to unrequited love, how we heal from it, and how we use that experience to transform ourselves. Heartbreak doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be a stepping stone toward becoming stronger, more self-aware, and ultimately freer. So I want you to ask yourself, what will you do with the energy you once dedicated to them? Will you choose to mourn, to feel the pain, and then rise above it? Or will you redirect that energy into something more positive, into passion, into growth, into discovering more about yourself? The most important thing to remember is that the choice is yours. Healing starts from within, and it begins with you making that conscious decision. Ultimately, the power to transform your pain into progress lies in your hands.